You want to change your life, then stop waiting for the right moment. Create it. You want to lead others, then stop asking for permission. Earn influence, because leadership, real leadership, is not about a title. It's not about status. It's about energy. It's about responsibility. And above all, it's about ownership. There is one leadership skill, one that most people ignore, that when mastered, will not just change your results, it will change your identity. And when your identity shifts, your destiny follows. That skill is emotional mastery. Learn to lead yourself emotionally, and you will lead others with power. Fail to do this, and no amount of strategy will save you. This is the core. This is the turning point. Let's go deeper. Leadership begins and ends with your emotional state. If you can't master your own emotions, you'll be a prisoner of circumstance for the rest of your life. Think about it. Every time you've made a bad decision, every time you've lashed out, shut down, or hesitated, it wasn't because of a lack of knowledge, it was because of the state you were in. Most people live in reaction to the external world. Their mood depends on traffic, their boss's tone, the number on their bank account. That is not leadership. That is emotional slavery. To be a powerful leader, you must become the master of your internal world. That means training your nervous system to respond, not react. It means breaking the habit of stress and stepping into intentional energy, because when your emotions are aligned, your decisions become powerful. Your actions become consistent. Your presence becomes magnetic. Have you ever been around someone who walks into a room and the energy shifts? Not because they're loud, not because they're flashy, but because they're centered. That's what emotional mastery gives you. You become the calm in the chaos, and people trust that. People follow that. People will move mountains for someone who gives them certainty when everything else is uncertain. But here's the truth. Emotional mastery isn't something you're born with, it's trained. It's choosing to raise your state every day. It's deciding to show up strong, even when life hits hard. It's rewiring your triggers so that your inner peace isn't at the mercy of other people's opinions. You want to lead your team, lead your family, lead your life, then start here. Start with emotional strength, because the world doesn't need more information, it needs more certainty. And that certainty starts with you. Master this, and your life will never be the same. Most people live in reaction. They're constantly responding to problems, waiting for life to give them the green light before they take action. But leaders, real leaders, anticipate. They see the storm before it comes. They don't wait for the fire to start. They already have the extinguisher in their hand. That's the difference. That's the edge. If you're reacting, you're already behind. You're playing defense. But if you anticipate, you're shaping the future before it happens. And that, my friend, is how power is built. Think about the greatest leaders in history. They weren't sitting around waiting for something to go wrong. They were visionaries. They saw 5 steps ahead. They played chess, not checkers. They trained themselves to recognize patterns. Patterns in business, in people, in economics, in relationships. They understood that the person who can see the consequence before the crowd even sees the choice, that person wins. Anticipation isn't guessing. It's the result of massive immersion, of paying attention, of being present. It's the ability to zoom out of the moment and ask, what's coming next? What can I prepare for? What needs to be prevented? Who do I need to become before the next crisis hits? You want to lead your company, your community, or your family. You've got to stop being the person who only acts when it hurts. You have to become the one who acts before it's broken. That's what builds trust. That's what builds results. People follow those who can lead them somewhere better, not just keep up with the chaos. And here's the magic. When you anticipate, your confidence grows. You stop being surprised by setbacks, and you start using them. You stop living in fear and start living in strategy. Life is unpredictable, yes. But leadership isn't about controlling everything. It's about preparing your mind, your heart, and your systems so that when uncertainty shows up, you don't flinch. This is the skill that separates amateurs from pros. It's not flashy, it's not always visible, but it's a weapon. And when you develop it, your entire world starts to move differently. Because the leader who sees it first wins first. Influence, everyone wants it. Everyone talks about how to gain it. But let me tell you something most people completely miss. Real influence doesn't start when you speak, it starts when you listen. And I don't mean passive listening. I mean active, intentional, piercing attention. The kind of listening that makes people feel seen, heard, and valued. You want to change someone's mind. You want to move a team to action. Don't open your mouth first. Open your presence. Because when someone feels understood, they open the door to influence. You see, most people are so busy preparing their reply that they never really hear the other person. They're trapped in performance mode, trying to be impressive, trying to sound smart, trying to dominate the conversation. That's not leadership, that's ego, and ego never creates connection. If you want to truly lead, you have to connect. And connection begins in the silence between words, in the eye contact, in the way you hold space for someone's truth without immediately trying to fix it, top it, or dismiss it. Listening is a superpower, but only when you do it with intention. When you listen deeply, people will tell you exactly how to influence them. They'll reveal their fears, their goals, their patterns, their pain. And when you know someone's emotional blueprint, you know how to lead them. You're not guessing anymore, you're guiding, not with manipulation but with alignment. That's authentic influence. Great leaders don't just talk at people. They listen into people, they ask the right questions, they lean in, they're fully present, and guess what? In a world full of noise, that kind of presence is rare, it's magnetic, it's unforgettable. You stand out not by saying more, but by hearing deeper. So if you want to build teams that trust you, relationships that grow, and a legacy that lasts, stop chasing the mic. Start tuning into the moment. Because when people feel heard, they'll follow you not because they have to, but because they want to. That's influence, and it always starts with your ears, not your mouth. Let me tell you something that'll flip your thinking upside down. It's not the smartest person in the room who leads, it's the one with the most certainty. You can have degrees, you can have data, you can have experience, but if you hesitate, if you doubt, if you shrink in the moment where leadership is required, you will lose influence. Why? Because people don't follow intelligence, they follow energy. They follow someone who exudes certainty, especially when the world is shaking. And here's the truth. Certainty isn't arrogance. It's not pretending to know everything. It's not bulldozing opinions or dominating conversations. No, certainty is a deep-rooted belief that you will figure it out, that no matter what happens, you will find a way. It's that grounded energy that says, I've got this, and if I don't yet, I will. Let's get real. We're living in uncertain times. Business, relationships, the economy, it's constantly shifting. People are scared, they're anxious, and they are looking for someone to anchor them. That anchor is you, but only if you're willing to step into certainty, even when you don't feel 100% ready. That's leadership. You don't have to know all the answers, but you do have to lead with the belief that the answer can be found. You don't have to fake confidence, you have to choose it, because confidence is a decision, not a condition. Most people wait until they feel ready. Newsflash, you may never feel ready. But leadership isn't about comfort, it's about courage. And courage breeds certainty. The most influential people in history weren't the smartest in the room, but they were the ones who stood firm when others sat down. They made decisions when others froze. They declared direction when others were spinning. Because people respond to energy, not credentials. They follow conviction, not hesitation. So ask yourself, what energy are you projecting? Are you leading from fear or from faith? From doubt or from drive? Because if you want to lead, if you want to inspire, then you need to show up with a state of unshakable certainty, even if you're figuring it out as you go. That's where your power lies. Let me say something that might sting a little. Your life, right now, is a direct reflection of the standards you've been willing to accept. Not what you wish for, not what you hope to achieve, but what you demand of yourself consistently. You want to change your life, raise your standards, period. Because your standards are not just rules, they're identity builders. Every time you say, "I don't tolerate excuses," or "I always follow through," or "I don't settle in relationships, in health, in career," you're not just making a decision, you're shaping who you are. And leadership starts there, with identity, not with strategy, not with charisma, not even with talent, but with the invisible blueprint of what you demand of yourself when no one's watching. The problem is, most people have soft standards. They say things like, "I should work out more," "I should eat better," "I should make more money," "I should speak up." And guess what? Shoulds don't create change. Musts do, until your should becomes a must. Nothing will shift. You will always fall to the level of your standards, not your goals. And when you do raise them, everything around you starts to rise to meet them. Think about elite performers, champions, visionary leaders. They don't tolerate average, not from others, but more importantly, not from themselves. Their identity is tied to excellence, to resilience, to hunger. They wake up every day and reaffirm who they are by the way they show up. Even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, you want to be a leader, then decide who you are, not based on what's easy, but based on what's necessary. Define the standards that align with the person you're becoming and commit to them like your life depends on it. Because in many ways it does, and here's the power of it all. When you raise your standards, you raise your environment. You start attracting people who play at that level. You start making decisions that reflect that higher identity. You stop negotiating with weakness. You start leading from alignment, not anxiety. Your standards are your signal to the world. They tell people what you accept, what you reject, and what you're building. So if you want to lead, raise your standards, then live them like your name depends on it, because it does. Most people get it wrong. They think leadership is about power, about control, about having all the answers and calling all the shots. But true leadership, transformational leadership, is not about control. It's about service. It's about lifting others, not lording over them. If you're trying to dominate people, manipulate outcomes, or inflate your ego, then you're not leading, you're managing fear. Real leaders don't need to be the loudest in the room. They don't need to control everything. They serve a mission bigger than themselves. They serve their people, their vision, their purpose. And because of that service, they earn trust, loyalty, and deep, lasting influence. Because people don't follow orders, they follow impact. Look around the leaders we remember, the ones who changed lives, changed companies, changed history, were servants first. They didn't just ask, "What can I get?" They asked, "What can I give?" Because leadership is not about elevation of the self. It's about elevation of others. And when you help others rise, you rise too. You want to lead a team, serve them, know their strengths, understand their pain points, show up for them when no one else will. You want to lead in your relationship, serve your partner's growth, be the rock, be the presence. You want to lead your children, serve them by living as an example, not by preaching rules you don't follow. Leadership is about who you become in the act of serving others. But let's be clear, service is not weakness. It's not being a pushover. It's not saying yes to everyone. It's strategic strength. It's knowing what people need even when it's not what they want. It's speaking truth with love. It's making tough calls not for your ego, but for their evolution. Because you're not here to be liked, you're here to be real. to serve the growth of those you lead. And yes, sometimes that means saying the hard things, setting the boundaries, and demanding more from people than they demand from themselves. When you lead from service, you shift from fear to purpose. And that's when you unlock your greatest power, not in control, but in contribution. Control creates resistance. Service creates transformation. And that is the heartbeat of a leader who changes the world.